In the meantime, according to the chairman of the Account Committee, Amarkhan Aksisbayev, the expenditures of the state budget for 2009 were surpassed by almost $1.7 billion. The finance minister Balat Jamishev also presented his report during the departmental meeting on Monday.
Nearly $21 billion, or 100.1% of the plan, unaffected by the seemingly unnecessary external loans, were added to the Kazakh treasury. The expenditures amounted to 98% relative to the expectations. Almost $450 million were left untouched on the accounts. Fiscal policy appeared to match perfectly all the challenges and demands of time. The unemployment rate decreased while businesses received necessary incentives, all in accordance with the plans of the president and his ruling party. The inflation rate amounted to 7.3% on average, which is below the forecasted 8.5%. The last year financial plan was the first one ever planned for 3 years and oriented at budget results. The steady implementation of the budget is being done at the time when the quality of tax inspections is dropping and taxpayers win trials, reports the chairman of the Accounts Committee, Amarkhan Aksisbayev. He voices several other important conclusions of the committee, not as a criticism, but rather as recommendations for the improvement of the budget. The government didn't fully enforce the articles of the law on the state budget 2009-2011. Out of 43 articles, 22 were not followed for a variety of reasons. 7 of 14 principles of the budget system are also ignored. Nevertheless, the MPs returned the numbers to speakers, pointing out several other budgetary facts, such as the debt weight of nearly $200 million at the government reserves and almost 180 million's worth of financial violations. The effective use of public funds was also discussed. At the end of the session, MP Sakulov angrily announced that his colleagues might reject the report and express distrust to the government. His colleagues, though, chose to remain silent.
At the same time, the international stock market is actively discussing the statement Kazakh finance minister made at the meeting with the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. According to Balat Jamishev, the government intends to take out a new loan and issue Eurobonds for the total amount of $500 million.
It seems that the government of Kazakhstan does not want to upset people. National Statistics Center reports the end of the crisis and the GDP reaching 7%. At the same time, the authorities prefer not to talk about the fact that the finance minister Balat Jamishev is again asking for loans abroad. Perhaps they do not consider $500 million as a significant amount, at least in contrast with the size of the external debt.
$500 million within the existing debt of $100 billion is just 0.5%. Since the GDP is around $140 billion, the national debt of $100 billion is quite a substantial load.
A few countries actually managed to timely play on the bonds market, including Russia, which has already invested its Eurobonds with favorable terms. Kazakhstan's reputation, though, has worsened due to the restructuring of 3 major banks, and as a consequence, with Western investors reluctantly looking at Kazakh economy.
It is really unclear whether international investors will be interested in Kazakh Eurobonds due to the unstable situation on the world markets. Kazakhstan experienced some problems within its banking system, and investors might take this into consideration.
The crisis in Greece and now Spain and Portugal led to the significant rise of the borrowing costs on the world market. This, however, is not likely to force the government and Kazakh national companies to abandon their usual way of solving financial problems. Last year alone, Kazmunaygas has issued Eurobonds worth over $1 billion, and now experts warn that the state of the country's economy depends solely on the oil and gas prices.
It is likely that the instability will increase in the social sector. The population's income is also undermined by the current state of the market, known as the Dutch disease, when all investments are directed at only one field. There are quite big risks here, and this time bomb might explode in the near future.
Russian analysts believe Kazakh officials reported about their success too soon. The next loan will be aimed at reducing the budget deficit, and if it is the way out of the crisis, it looks more like a dead end.
Activists of the youth movement Aberoy asked the government to reopen the Kazakh-Kyrgyz border. Evidently, if nothing is done soon, the population of the neighboring country faces a humanitarian disaster. The message of Aberoy activists was accepted on Monday by the Prime Minister's office.
The social situation in Kyrgyzstan is growing tenser as the population experiences the shortage of food and information blockade. Aberoy movement activist Mahomet Abjan refers to the talks with the vice mayor of Talas, Adilet Atlikeyev, and suggests the government to support their neighbors and open the border.
Kazakhstan, as the main trade partner of Kyrgyzstan, must open the border because if it remains closed, the neighboring country might experience a social conflict. There is a lack of foodstuffs, and China alone cannot provide enough products for Kyrgyzstan.
Kazakh MPs are not in a hurry to open the border, referring to the national security issues. Janibek Karibjanov noted that the interim government is still not legitimate and the unrest continue.
Not only Kyrgyzstan, but also Kazakhstan is interested in reopening of the border. However, to do so, certain conditions must be met, which are dictated by the national security issues. Therefore, the relevant authorities are investigating the situation and will make the final decision.
Meanwhile, the Foreign Affairs Ministry of Kazakhstan informs that it is ready to open the border, although with certain conditions. Most likely, the passage will be allowed, but only for selective cargoes.
The decision was not finalized, but active talks are underway. A less strict regime of transit for cargoes is planned for economic goods.
The activists of Aburo Youth Movement intend to gather once again near the government building on May 18th. They will personally deliver letters to each minister, asking them to accelerate the border opening process.
The Inter-District Court of Almaty made a decision not in favor of the dairy producer Foodmaster, obliging the company to pay nearly $55,000 to its former milk supplier. Meanwhile, someone in the city is distributing leaflets asking people to stop buying Foodmaster's products. Find out next what the producer intends to do to restore its public image.
Company Foodmaster has lost a trial against Margarita Firstova, who managed to prove that the quality of the milk she supplied to the dairy producer was artificially lowered. Consequently, the company owes the supplier almost $55,000. Nevertheless, the plaintiff claims the court decision is important not because of the money alone, but because farmers behind the mediator are waiting for the result. I cannot begin my work because people are still waiting for the outcome. Foodmaster does not agree with the court decision and intends to appeal, though admitting the process will influence further policies of the company. From now on, the producers will not deal with the mediators purchasing milk directly from farmers. A number of measures will be taken to reduce the cost, and one of them is the elimination of mediators from the chain. At the same time, smaller farmers are not interested in scandals between milk suppliers and producers. Asiya Khatalieva says there is no need to sell home milk through intermediaries, as there is always demand for fresh output. Every day, Asiya's 2 cows give 50 liters of milk, which are sold for $10, the amount enough for the family. My cows truly feed my entire family, and I see no need for mediators. I and my husband do not have jobs, and while our son does, he does not get paid. Milk is our only source of money. At the moment, the trial seems to be the least of the company's problems. On Monday morning, someone spread leaflets in several kindergartens calling parents not to buy Foodmaster products. The producer chose not to blame anyone publicly, preferring to submitting actions to the prosecutor and the Internal Affairs Ministry.
These were all the latest updates from Kazakhstan. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.